family, this is giving you something to talk about, or just a live TV as I like to call it. Today we're going to be talking about the leading causes of burnout. And well, who doesn't want to know about that? Because none of us want to experience burnout, but most of us do. Today's episode is sponsored by Healthinology. So they are calling all office staff, middle managers, consultants, IT programmers, and tech specialists, and all corporate professionals. Are you ready to get past overwhelm at work? Get this free guide to build your career to get more money in less time with less stress and beat burnout in your career. So go and check out that link. You can get that guide from them directly from the link that is pinned in this episode. So go and click that link and get your free guide today. I'm going to hand it over to our guest speaker to introduce yourself. Teresa, would you like to say hello?
Absolutely. Thanks for the lovely introduction, Melissa. My name is Teresa Yu. I'm the founder of Healthinology, and I help corporate professionals get out of burnout, take back their health, and enjoy their career that they love so much and enjoy their life along with it.
Absolutely. We go through that so often where, and you and I were talking about this in the pre-screening interview. Apparently I can't talk this afternoon. So we were talking about, all the different reasons or all the different causes of burnout. And just a couple of them off the list that I've got here is, work ethic, right? When you've got a strong work ethic, or there's ones where it's culturally, ingrained into you culturally that you have to be work all the time. Family, society, there are so many different causes to burnout. And I guess understanding some of those is what we're going to be explaining today, right? Understanding some of those, how we can avoid them, what we, can do differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are major factors to burnout, and everyone has their own definition of burnout, right? So there isn't a one size fits all. For the most part, if you're a high achiever, if you're a high performer at your job, you love to please other people, you want to do a great job at your work, those tend to be a lot of factors to contribute to kind of the burnout culture. And really just society kind of demands it. And nowadays, with jobs being kind of scarce, everything is very competitive. It's very easy to fall into that burnout mentality.
Well, not only just high achievers, though. I've known people who are maybe not as high achieving or, lazy, for lack of a better word. And I fall into that category at times. Their ability to reach burnout faster or maybe in a different way would be an issue as well. Burnout affects, I think, everybody in different ways. Like you said, it is individualistic for the person, right? My version of burnout, maybe I get sick, like violently ill, or, maybe for some people it's mental health, right? Where their mentality, it's like you get brain fog, right? You're just like, right, what am I even doing? So let's get into some of the leading causes of burnout, and then maybe go into some early warning signs.
Yeah, sure. Everything that you've listed there that you've listed earlier is, very, very much what I see nowadays, kind of leading to burnout. So people who are overworking, and that's also very relative to the person. There's some people who can do lots and lots of things in a day, and some people only want to focus on one or two things and get those done well, right? So it really depends, like, what your definition of overwork is and how you manage that day to day. And of course, I would say the main thing that really pops up is toxic environment, toxic manager. They're not working well with other people, and they don't really like the people that they work with, essentially. Like, the relationship just isn't there for them, and it's really hard for them to kind of contribute to anything in those teams. Assuming that most people do work in teams, for the most part, unless you're maybe just like an individual contributor, like a programmer, but at the same time, you're still working in teams. Usually you have a manager, someone that you report to, and the relationship just isn't there for them. Another thing that I'm seeing is lack of passion. Like, what you want to do is not aligned with what you feel good about. So if you're in a field that isn't aligned with what you believe in, then really there's just sort of tug and pull there, where you're just not feeling what you're doing. You don't like it. You're not enjoying it. And that really leads to burnout too, because you're doing something you don't want to do. You're just doing it for maybe to pay the bills. You might, you have a family to feed, you need that certain sort of lifestyle that you probably want to live towards, but you're just not happy. And another one that actually you touched upon, but it is kind of overlooked, and some people may not categorize this as burnout, but I certainly do, because I see it, is those people who aren't high achievers and they just kind of fade into the background, and they're not doing a lot to move themselves forward in their career. It could be because they're, that lack of passion again. It could be because of overwhelm, but in the outside, it's just they're not doing much. They're bored. They're a little tired. They're fatigued. They don't want to do anything, but at the same time they do. So there's that dissonance again there, where, it's like, oh, I don't want to do it. Like it's kind of hard to get moving in the very beginning. For some of those, for that cohort. So yeah, those are really all of the different signs I'm seeing. And in terms of early signs, I think we've touched upon that again, but definitely fatigue. So it looks like, lying in bed for a long period of time, not wanting to get up, not everyone springs out of bed and it's like, okay, you're ready to like take on the day and go to work. Not everyone is like that, of course not. But, if you feel helpless, if you feel extremely fatigued, if you are, more tired than usual, in bed or just like around the home or, at work, then those are definitely early signs of burnout. Helps talking to someone about it, someone that you trust, either at work or not, a close friend, relative, your coach, therapist, your doctor. Those are all good resources, but really just catching them early helps. Talking it out helps. Journaling helps. So it really depends on the person, but those are all different resources that I like to tell people to do.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to and just add a few points to the, leading causes of burnout. And one of them that I don't think is mentioned enough is a lack of identity or lack of awareness of yourself. Okay. So I'm an identity coach. That's my bread and butter. I absolutely love it. One of the things that we don't think about is, and I was talking to my own coach about this the other day, and she was shocked. To say the least, she was shocked. Because I said, I don't like routines. I hate routines. I can't stand them. If I have an appointment, I show up for the appointment, but at the same time, I can't stand routines. I like my freedom. Mm-hmm. And so we were talking about the show, and for anybody watching or catching this replay, we will be updating the show. We won't be live streaming anymore. We'll still be streaming, but we won't be live anymore. We'll still connect with you in the chat and all of that, but we won't be live. And one of the reasons that we're doing that is because, and I'm going to tell you burnout for me. So I started noticing, so when the school year started, because we're in October, so when the school year started for my daughters, I'm now doing drop off and pickup. And when I decided that, I'm going to be doing drop off and pickup, I'm like, I have to schedule my day a little bit differently. So I took all of my live streams and I bumped them an hour earlier. So now we're doing them at 1. But I realized that once I'm done at 1 or 1:30, 2 o'clock, we've also shortened them to half an hour instead of an hour. But now that when we're done, I only get about an hour before I have to start picking up my daughters. And my daughters finish school 35 minutes apart. So I have to go pick up one, wait another half an hour to go pick up the other, and then I get to come home. And by the time I come home, I have to make dinner.
Yeah.
And so I take the first part of my morning to just be me. That's my me time. That's my time where if I want to lie in bed for an hour and read a book, or if I want to watch a show that I haven't watched in a while, or whatever it is, scroll TikTok or Facebook, I get to do that. That's my morning routine. And what I've realized is that my creativity time or my productive time is usually about now to evening, right? 12 o'clock, midnight, whenever. That's my productivity time. So for me to do the show every afternoon, right at the beginning of my productivity time, I don't want to do anything after. I'm taking away from my energy, by doing the show, which is great. I love the show. No complaints there. But I had to switch it. And one of the things is like I said, afternoon, and I was talking to my husband about yesterday, afternoon, I like to be productive. That's when I get motivated. That's when, my body starts telling me, okay, Melissa, it's time to do stuff. Let's go have a dance party, or let's create a program, or whatever it is that I need to do in the afternoon. That's my good time. And there are companies out there nowadays that are starting to acknowledge that all of us have a different schedule. So there are people who are early risers. Half the doctors that I've met are up at 5 o'clock in the morning. My best friend is up at 5 o'clock in the morning and in bed at like 9, 10. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I want to sleep until 9, go to bed at midnight or 1 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
So what they've done in some companies is they've taken, and you can start earlier and end earlier. So for those really early risers, you can come in 6, 7 a.m. And then for the late risers, you can come in 10, 11. And you'll still get a full day work in, but you're doing it in your peak times, right? Because it was causing a lot of burnout for employees to be there 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever that looked like. It was causing a lot of burnout for specific employees, because that was their role. So I think knowing your times, knowing your body, knowing your energy, and when it peaks, when it doesn't peak, when you're tired. When I was pregnant, 3 o'clock, I napped. From 2 to 3, it was nap time. That's what my body told me, right? So listening to your body and understanding who you are, how you work, what works for you, that's a huge one. The second one is life-work balance. The amount of people who burn out because they have no life-work balance, and that's not just life as in family or friends, that's you, right? Having some me time, having some family time, having some friend time, making time in your day, every day, for at least yourself. And that's not doing the dishes or laundry or whatever it looks like. It's you time. That leads to burnout as well, if you're not putting effort into you time.
Absolutely. Yep, I would agree. The me time is important, especially for women. It tends to be overlooked. And if you have children, even more so, because you kind of want to scramble to do all the things, have everything set. It's kind of the perfectionist. And I'm talking about myself too. I was once in that mode where, everything kind of has to be perfect. Everything has to look a certain way. But, at the end of the day, it's, you got to take care of number one, too. And that's how you help other people. And that's how you run a successful business. That's how you do really great at your work. And that's how you can serve the people at your job. And also in your family and everyone who surrounds you. So absolutely 100%. I agree.
Now symptoms. So early signs, and not necessarily just early signs. Some of the ones I wrote down, I was writing stuff down while you were giving your ideas too. So you mentioned fatigue, absolutely, utterly 100%. If you are overtired all the time, then you're probably not, you're probably experiencing some form of burnout. But irritation, anger, depression, anxiety, panic. If you're waking up in the morning and you're irritated because you have to go to work, if you're waking up and you're panicking because you have to go deal with your coworkers, your work is stressing you out, and there's a reason why. Maybe go and find somebody like myself or Teresa to identify what's going on and how you can make it better for yourself, because there are going to be times where you're going to have to work with people you don't like. There are going to be times where you're going to have to do a job that you don't like while building for your future, right? We're never stuck there, but we may have to spend a little bit of time there figuring out how this works, what we want, what we need. And those people who irritate you, if you go to work and you don't like working with the people you're working with, you need to ask yourself why, because that's an internal. That's always an internal.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree. And really, I would offer that there are some cases where you don't have to work with those pesky colleagues. If you can't help it, like you might be put in a team where, if there's 5 of you, there's that one person you don't like there's always that one person, right? You don't have to necessarily talk to them every day or coordinate with them. You can just do the necessary things you have to do to get the work done. And that's it. Like, a lot of people like to have this inner dialogue that you have to do something, and it's not necessarily true. So when there's a little bit of anxiety, definitely ask yourself why that is and how you can help yourself with that, how you can prevent it ultimately.
Yeah. And if that means going to your employers, right? I'd like to say most, but I'm not going to. Some employers are starting to acknowledge and appreciate anxiety and depression and stress and overwhelm, and give personal days, or switch schedules, or even switch departments if that's something that needs to happen, right? If you're doing a project and you're working with a team, and say maybe you don't get along with the rest of the team, say, you know what, I'm going to do this. And just say, you know what, I'd rather not be put with this group again. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but I feel uncomfortable. And everything that we experience, even burnout, comes from ourselves. Every emotion, every feeling that we have is created by our own mindset, by our own head, right? If you have a belief about something, you're going to emotionally react that way. If you have a situation that you don't like, you're the one who doesn't like it. It always comes back to the individual, but that also means you have the power to change it.
Yeah, I would agree, Melissa. Definitely the belief work is so important. And, believe it or not, a lot of people believe that their manager doesn't want to work with them. They don't want to see them be successful, but that's just not true. Like the managers are there to help you. The team is there to help you succeed. And honestly, I know some pretty good companies that will do everything to make you comfortable. They really value you. You just have to start the conversation. And that's really the initial thing, right? A lot of people are very fearful of losing their job, losing, clients, and they just don't speak up. And that's really that part where you have to work on your belief.
Yeah. Yep. Open yourself up and speaking your truth, right? And that doesn't mean you need to be vulgar about it or anything along those lines. But, I was having a talk with my son today, and he's like, you could make that phone call. And he was talking about a situation that his girlfriend experienced today or yesterday. And he's like, you could do that. I was like, I could. He says, yeah, but I know if you do that, you're going to be an a-hole, but you're not going to be like mean about it, but you're going to get it done. And I said, that's confidence. I said, I go into situations knowing what outcome I want, and fighting for what I believe. Now, I'm not rude about it. I'm not crude or vulgar. It's, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is not right. We need to figure this out. And, stand up for yourself and know that if you're in a toxic environment, you have the opportunity to change. Is it easy? No, absolutely it's not. But when you figure out who you are, what you want, and how your skills will help you get there, that opens all the doors.
Yeah, absolutely. Know what your strengths are, know what your selling points are. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or you're a professional. Everyone has their own strengths and what they offer. So you offer something to a corporation, an organization, or a company. They hired you for those strengths, and kind of work those in your favor too. And, I always like to say, like, the managers hired you to do a certain role, like to get the job done. Know what that is, because that's ultimately going to drive your conversation and getting what you want in those kind of like those negotiations and discussions as well.
Yep, absolutely. I was just about to say something and I cannot remember. Oh, there we go. It is where you work, what you do for work, your income levels. It's time to ask yourself these questions, right? It's time to find your purpose, your passion, what drives you, what your ideal day looks like. My own coach asked me that a couple of weeks ago. Melissa, what is your ideal day? Right? How many hours do you want to work a week or a day or a month or whatever that looks like? What do you want to be working? What does your ideal look like? How is it structured? What are you doing? Who are you with? Ask yourself these questions and, start identifying where your work life is burning you out or where your actual life is burning you out. Because, burnout is not just employees or employers. It's also moms and dads who are running themselves ragged, trying to make sure that everything and everyone is happy, healthy, and perfect, except for themselves. And that has to be the leading cause of burnout for me, is trying to do everything for everybody else and not yourself. Number one.
Yeah, bar none. Absolutely. It's not just work burnout that we kind of talk about and that I kind of help people with, but even if you're anxious about work, even if it's like you're very frustrated in your environment, a lot of different things really add up to that. Like the things about, like making sure things are perfect, making sure the kids are fed, making sure the laundry's done and it's folded neatly and put back in their closets. Like all of those things really add up. And that the little things are the big things, right? And that really snowballs into a big explosion where it's like, oh no, like there's this point in time when you're burnout, and that's really like what people experience as burnout, but really there's the little things that really add up. So yeah, I would say definitely it really starts with the small things. It starts with, like you said, the morning routine. Like for me, I don't like getting up. I used to get up early, like I used to get up at 5, and now I don't. And I value my sleep more than anything else now. And I personally, for me, sleep is like the number one thing. And when you get a good night's rest, like suddenly like your coworkers aren't as pesky, like you can manage your schedule better, like the clients aren't as needy, right? So there's all those things that you kind of have to know yourself on. And I definitely agree that, working on those little things will help mitigate those big issues.
Absolutely. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we get going?
I think we covered most of the things here, and I do want to emphasize a little bit about the belief work that I think you had mentioned earlier, but just to kind of add the cherry on top of that for your own beliefs, everyone has their own beliefs because we all come from different backgrounds, right? Like most of it comes from our parents, like our family, and what your parents learned from their parents, and so on and so forth. So that's really all passed down. Sometimes it's epigenetic. A lot of times, we learn it from our peers, our friends, our belief work. And I just want to say, I want to say, challenge what you know, challenge the things that you think that are true, because a lot of times they're not necessarily true. And I've kind of noticed this. I just got married not too long ago, maybe like a month ago, and what other people tell you about it is not necessarily your own truth. Like it's not sometimes it's not what you believe in. I'm like, what do you mean like that's what you believe in? Because that it wasn't what I believed in. And when it's challenged, you kind of have a different perspective and your mind goes a certain way where it's not necessarily your own truth. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's what makes us all human. And I just wanted to put that out there. So challenge your beliefs.
Yeah, absolutely. We create, I created the 7 mindset pillars. And as we're children and getting older, we create belief systems in the 7 pillars, and they're self, spirituality, romantic relationships, family, friends, finances, and career and business. Those are the 7 most important aspects of our lives. And we create the beliefs. And as we get older, everything revolves around those beliefs, right? Every decision we make, every reaction that we have, every emotion, every burnout comes down to what we believe is true. And then when we start feeling unhappiness, 99% of the time, it's caused by one of those beliefs not being what we want.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not in alignment again. And actually, when you mentioned that, I remembered a statistic that I read a long time ago, where I think it was after age 35, most people tend to have solid belief systems. Like you don't learn anything new. They're only reiterations of what you already know. And I just think, it's so powerful if you're older than 35, you know, it it's like, oh no, like your thinking is rigid, but it's not necessarily true. Like you can challenge them, you can relearn them. And in fact, lots of people have that I know. So yeah, it's really all about rethinking about it again.
Yep. I've worked with people from their 20s to their 70s, and all of them, it's reframing those beliefs. It's changing the way we look at them. It is not impossible. It is absolutely possible to change your beliefs or your perception of those beliefs. And it's never too late or too early to learn who you are and how to make your life possible. So, all righty. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, Teresa.
Of course.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciated it. And I think that there's a lot of value to be had when we talk about, burnout and what causes it.
Absolutely. Definitely hope that it helps all of you out there one way or another. I try to talk about as much as I can to help as many people as possible and to really relate to you. So I hope that something here was helpful.
Absolutely. And for anybody watching or catching the replay, make sure that you download the Healthinology guide. The free guide, it is all about, finding fulfillment, making more money, a whole bunch of stuff. Free guide to build your career, to get more money in less time with less stress, and beat burnout in your career right now. So go and check that out. Again, that link is in the description from Healthinology, and that is Teresa's company. And for anybody watching, if you want to connect with Teresa or myself, you can find our information, our links in the description of this episode. All right. Well,
thank you. Thanks, Melissa.
You're very welcome. Make sure you go and check her out, download that free guide, like, follow, and share the show. And if you are interested in being a guest speaker or a guest blogger, or if you want to see a topic featured on the show, please reach out to us, justalivetv.com. Our inbox is always open. I'm your host, Melissa Krechler, and I will see all of you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye, everyone.